The Exorcist is a classic 1973 horror film directed by William Friedkin. The film, which tells the story of a young girl who is possessed by a demonic force, is one of the highest grossing horror films of all time. And critics praised it as a truly terrifying film experience. But many people don't realise that the popular horror film was actually inspired by a true story. Just in time for Halloween, here's the real story behind one of the scariest movies ever made. In the late 1940s, a 13-year-old boy, commonly known by the alias Roland Doe, was mourning the death of his aunt. The aunt had taught him about spiritualism, including how to use the Ouija boards. Roland's family note that the strange going-on started to happen in their house shortly after the death of this beloved family member. In 1949, the family reported hearing strange dripping noises and scratching sounds in the house. At first, Roland's mother believed the noises were connected to the dead aunt, so the family started trying to reach out to the spirits that they believed would be in the house, hoping that they could reason with them and ask them if they could be left alone. However, this only made things worse. Roland claimed he could hear someone walking in his room at night when he was trying to sleep, and there were scratch marks found all over his mattress in the morning. Eventually, scratch marks began also appearing on his body. After many nights of activity, and not knowing what else they could do, the family called the local minister, and after observing the boy overnight at the church, the minister suggested that they reach out to the Jesuits. The family converted to Catholicism and tried to have Roland baptized, but the young boy responded to their baptism attempts with unbridled rage. At one point in his life, Roland was admitted to hospital, where a psychiatrist attempted to treat him, but was ultimately unsuccessful. From there, the family thought moving Roland to a different house might make the spirits leave them alone, but the strange events continued. The family was out of options, and so they called upon a priest to perform an exorcism. Father Raymond J. Bishop was one of those priests who was called in for the exorcism. Bishop later wrote about his experiences. These writings can be found in the Exorcist diary. Another priest who came to assist the family was Father William S. Bowden. At one point, Bowden attempted to protect Roland through blessing and by putting a crucifix under the young boy's pillow. After leaving Roland to rest, the family returned to find furniture flipped over and the crucifix moved to the edge of the bed. Roland's mattress was shaking uncontrollably. Over the coming months, priests performed multiple exorcisms on young Roland Doe. One was performed at Georgetown University Hospital, a Jesuit institution. Another took place at the Alexan Brothers Hospital in South St. Louis, Missouri. While the exorcisms were performed, young Roland vomited, urinated, spit, and spoke in Latin. Roland also took on a deep adult-sounding voice that was unfamiliar. The final exorcism was conducted with the help of priests Walter Holleran and William Van Roo. At some point during the exorcism ritual, Holleran's nose was broken. In the end, the priests claimed they were successful in exorcising the demons from Roland's body, and the young boy went on to live what could be called a normal life. After the conclusion of all this, investigations were made and explanations have been tried. In his 1993 book Possessed, The True Story of an Exorcism, author Thomas B. Allen offered the consensus of today's experts: that Roland was just a deeply disturbed boy, nothing supernatural about him. Another author, Mark Obsesnik, questioned many of the supernatural claims associated with this story, proposing that Roland Doe was simply a spoiled, disturbed bully who threw deliberate tantrums to get attention or to get out of school. He also reports that Halloran, who was present at the exorcism, never heard the boy's voice change, and that he thought the boy merely mimicked Latin words he had heard clergymen say, rather than gaining a sudden ability to speak Latin. He also reports that when marks were found on the boy's body, Halloran failed to check the boy's fingernails to see if he had made them himself. Ospinik also questioned the story of Hugh's attempt to exorcise the boy and his subsequent injury, saying he could find no evidence that such an episode had actually occurred. Despite the boy only being 13 years old and many of his personal information being protected, during his investigation, Ospinik discovered that exorcism did not take place at the boy's home due to being no recorded evidence. The boy's home was in Cottage City, Maryland, not where originally was stated. Much of the commonly accepted information about the story is based on hearsay and not documented, and was never ever fact-checked. There is evidence that the father did take a small boy to the Georgetown hospital, but not of him having the exorcism or being followed up on. There is ample evidence refuting the claims that the father suffered an emotional breakdown and disappeared from the Cottage City community. According to Ospinik, individuals connected to the incident were influenced by their own specializations. To psychologists, the young boy suffered from a mental illness. For the priests, this was a case of demonic possession. To the writers and film video producers, this was a great story to exploit for profit. Those involved saw what they was trained to see. Each perpetuated to look at the facts, but just the opposite was true. In actuality, they manipulated the facts and emphasized information that fit their own agendas. All we know is over the years, Roland's story has been told and told and told. We don't know the true facts, but this could be a case of protecting our youth, but it could also be a case of hearsay. This has been put into film, literature, radio, and so much more over the years. What's your thoughts on this story? Let me know down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this little telling, please leave a like and also consider subscribing for more just like this. We are in the month of All Hallows Eve, so don't forget, whether you're walking out, trick-or-treating, you don't have to be afraid of what's behind you.